Well, we start with the next content, that is competency mapping. So whenever we speak about competency mapping, it's again a tool that is applied across the organization, wherein organizations try to identify the core competencies, that is the competencies that distinguishes them from its competitors. So once we identify these core competencies, we try to implement these competencies across all the departments, across all the jobs in the organization, and all the employees are supposed to work on those respective competencies with respect to their job. So somewhere trainings are given, appraisals are done only on these identified competencies, and finally the assessment of the competencies with respect to the jobs are done across all the jobs that are available in the organization. So that is all about the concept called as competency mapping. So in this video I'll be just throwing some light on definition of competency mapping and how competency mapping processes are done in an organization, and then we get into different competency models that most of the organizations are following in order to be effective in their respective areas. Now to start with, you have the word called as core competencies. Now core competencies are those competencies which distinguishes an organization or a firm from its competitors, or it makes the organization visible in the market. Now for example, now whenever I say that we speak about Toyota, we say it's all about quality, it's all about continuous improvement, isn't it? Now I call quality and continuous improvement as their core competencies. Now whenever we speak about Tatas, the first thing that comes to our mind is transparency, ethics, isn't it? Consistency. So these are again the core competencies. Now similarly, you have many examples I've sorted in the slide. Those are the core competencies that the organizations possess. So whenever we want to implement competency mapping in an organization, the first thing that organizations have to do is identify their core competencies. And once they are able to identify, those strengths that they have which other competitors or other organizations do not have. Now that is the first thing that the organization has to do. Now I've sorted an example here. You can see there a boat building firm. There was one of the article I was just going through. So here what happened was, it was a boat manufacturing building firm. The CEO of the company once thought that, of course, we do these small boats, we do manufacture. So his thought process was, why don't we get into building up a ship, not a boat? And then he decided, saying that yes, we will get into manufacturing the ship, and he called all the employees. Accordingly, the jobs were allocated, reallocation of the job was done, and the people started performing. So it took around 6 months for him to understand what exactly was happening with respect to the process. Once he went back to understand what was the status of the new idea of coming up with the ship, it was average. But when it comes to boat building, the company or the organization was very successful, and all the employees were very happy in doing their work. Now CEO was surprised. Boat was possible, why not ship? Now when he spoke to the employees, they said, all the employees said, sir, our competencies lies in something else. Now we should be successful in that. Now slowly you have taken us to a different level, we understand, but there, to that level, are our organization possessing those core competencies? So somewhere there the organization failed. So somewhere we conclude saying that organizations have to first understand what are they good at, what are their unique properties or unique competencies that makes them to stand up in the market. So somewhere the module called as competency mapping always starts with identifying the core competencies of the organization. Now usually the question comes, when we have traditional appraisal process, recruitment process, training is also going good, why this word competency mapping? Why should anybody identify competencies, assess the competencies, isn't it, train them on competencies? So the first answer for this is, companies have to compete with others. You'll have to identify the business needs. Nothing is constant, isn't it? Everything is changing, the competition is changing, technology is pitching in, a lot of high performances are expected. There are new models that are coming in the market. Competitive environment is very strong, very high. So somewhere organizations have to get into identifying their core competencies. Now once they do that, they will be able to produce this high quality products or services, and ultimately when you do this competency mapping process, you will be able to attract the right talent in your organization. We call it as quality manpower. So once you do that, then obviously your organization can respond properly to the changing environment. There comes the essence of competency mapping. So whenever we speak about, there are different terminologies in this module. We usually come across the two words. You can see that competence versus competency. Now I have a certain skill, and using that skill I have performed. What I have performed is, my target was given, I was able to achieve my target. Look at it, I had a skill, I applied this skill, and whatever task was given, target was given, the job was given, I was able to achieve it. Now if my performance is assessed based on what skill I used, what was achieved by me, okay, number of things that I could do in an organization, then we are referring it to competence. On the contrary, the company checks, what behavior did I use in order to achieve that target? How did I behave? How did I achieve that target or the task or the project or the assignment? Then we are getting into competency. Now, there is a simple differentiation here. Competence concentrates on the skill that you have, what you have done. But competency checks, of course, you have achieved the target. How did you achieve it? What was your behavior then? Of course, gaining customer is fine, is a competence. Acquiring the customer and the customer base, competence. Is the customer happy? Was the customer happy with how you interacted? Right? Now, how was your behavior then? So if we are measuring the effectiveness part, then we get into competence. So in most of my slides, you can see we will only be talking on the word competency. Now one more example here to distinguish the word competence versus competency. Now imagine that I want to learn how to drive a car. Okay, so we usually go to these driving schools. The first thing that they do is they give us a reading material. They say, why don't you read this manuals and understand where is steering, where is different parts of the car, and then come back to us. Now there what they are doing is they are imparting the knowledge. Okay, so here when they are imparting knowledge using those manuals, what is happening is we are trying to understand the meaning of driving a car. Okay, we are just understanding, imagining. Okay, and we come back to the driving school and say we are done with reading the manual, and then the first thing that they do is they take us for a drive, and of course they sit next to us, isn't it? And they take us to a non-traffic area, and they make us to drive, and of course I was able to drive it successfully. Now what I have done is, whatever knowledge that I had acquired, I was able to practice it, I was able to put it in practice. Now what I have done is I have exhibited the skill. Now, of course, I could drive well in a non-traffic area. Now the driving school man takes me to a traffic area and leaves me there. I drive the car. Listen to my words. I drive the car. And whatever target was given from this place to the other place, I was able to drive. That is again the competence. On the contrary, how did I drive? How many met with an accident while my car was moving? How many dashes happened? How many traffic rules I broke? Okay, am I safe? The person sitting next to me, is he safe? Isn't it? Now whether I have used my knowledge, whether I have applied my skill, and how beautifully I could apply my skill is all about competency. You're getting it? That's the differentiation between competence and the competency. Now let's define the word competencies. Now if you look at the word competencies, it's all about demonstration of the required skills and abilities in order to perform effectively. Or there are some other authors who say it's all about underlining characteristics of a person which results in effective and superior performances on the job. Now again, one more person, Parry, says that it's a cluster of related knowledge, skills and attitude that affects one's performance against the standard. So you will have to remember it's all about characteristics that a manager possesses in order to demonstrate the required skills and abilities in order to perform effectively. So that's again the word competency. You can see the pyramid there. It also defines the word competencies, self-explanatory. So you can just go through the slide there. So the observable behavior are usually considered as the competencies. So within that you have the knowledge level, the skill level, the trait and the motives. Okay, there are categories of competencies whenever we define it in an organization. The first one you see there is called as threshold competencies. Now threshold competencies are those competencies which are required for an employee to do the job minimally effective. Now I am an average employee and I want to do the job and get out of the job. Now I require certain minimum competencies, minimum knowledge level, skill level, attitude and my behavior. Now this is called as threshold competency. But I am not a what you can say average performer. I want to distinguish myself from the average performer in my organization. Now to do that I have certain competencies. Now those competencies are called as differentiating competencies. You're getting it? So minimal competencies that an employee possesses in order to do his job in a minimum effective way, acting as an average employee, we call it as threshold competency. But if you want to distinguish yourself from an average performer, those competencies possessed by you are considered as differentiating competencies. Now let's get into the competency mapping process. So usually there are 3 steps here. You can follow my slide. The first one is to develop the competency model. So here what we do is there are many models the researchers speak on. So based on the requirement of an organization, we can pick up the model that is suitable for the company based on its objective and the results that they're going to measure and so on and so forth. Yeah, the second thing that we do is you will have to identify the competencies that are required to perform the given job or the role in a better way. So once you identify the competency, you allow the person to perform. So once he performs the job or the task or the project or the assignment, we will have to get into assessing those competencies. Now how do you assess it? There are certain tools again which will tell you whether an individual or a group of individuals are able to exhibit those competencies in a given role or not, whether they are successfully done it or whether they were not able to execute the competencies. Now this is again the competency mapping process. So please remember 3 things. One, develop a competency model for the organization. Second thing you'll have to do is you'll have to identify the competencies required across all the jobs in an organization. And the third thing, you'll have to assess the competencies by using the various tools that are available for you to assess the competencies. Now whenever we speak about you can see here I said identification of competencies and I also said assessing the competencies. So whenever we get into identifying competencies, you have list here. The first one, if you look at it, task force, benchmarking. See, all these concepts I would be explaining in detail in the upcoming modules of competency mapping. Very soon the video on that will also be updated. So you can see the identification tools, task force, benchmarking, HR specialist. So we use all these methods in order to identify competencies that are required to perform the job in an effective way. I can either use the questionnaire method or interviews, or I can put the HR specialist on job or the job experts. Of course I can use psychologists and so on and so forth. Yeah, so once you identify, you get into assessment tools. Now if you look at the assessment tools, you have self and superior assessment, 360-degree assessment center, psychometric test, role plays, case scenarios, and management games and so on. Now, why or what is the application of competency mapping? So usually whenever we hire a person, nowadays companies are getting into competency based talent acquisition. In the sense, I know the list of competencies that is required for my organization to be the best. Okay, so I assess a person only based on these competencies. If the person is able to exhibit these competencies in the interview process, then is in. Okay, second thing, I am going to train my employees only on the competencies that the organization is expecting. Of course, the future competencies are also identified. Yeah, so somewhere training, competency based training is the second application when it comes to this particular slide. So once the person is trained, you usually put him on the job. So once he is done with his performance, we usually get into appraisals. So whenever appraisals are done, so appraisals are done based on the competencies. Of course, I had identified certain competencies. Was the employee able to exhibit these competencies in job 1, job 2, job 3 and so on, isn't it? And then comes the rewards, recognition. So somewhere the job, if you feel that it is monotonous routine, somewhere we are not able to execute those competencies, we get into redesigning the job. So these are the different applications of competency mapping. Now the upcoming slides will speak on the examples of competencies. I will just show the slide to you all, more self-explanatory again, taken from some of the sources. You can see that these are the different competencies of a HR professional. So if you are a HR, so what are the competencies you are supposed to possess? Okay, if you look at certain, you can see the functional competencies on one side, the technical competence, the personal and human resources, information management, certain arithmetic, this reading, this all I refer it to as functional competencies. And then you have this something called as teamwork, reasoning, influencing, negotiation, creative thinking, oral communication, stress tolerance. I refer these as behavioral competencies that the HR is supposed to have. And then you can see your organizational awareness, problem solving, customer service. I mean the same thing, stress tolerance, behavioral competencies again. You can see your decision making, planning, self esteem, communication, isn't it? So these I can put it as managerial competencies. So these are the list of competency that the HR professional is supposed to possess. Of course, you have a sales professional competency here. Okay, here we have defined personality, how a salesperson is supposed to have him. Emotional stability should be very high. Energy levels again absolutely high. Self efficiency very high again. Assertiveness should be there. Okay. Then the ability, of course, mental ability, divergent thinking, quantitative reasoning. The knowledge level, of course, financial analysis should be very strong. The computer literacy, of course, the basic computer applications are needed. Product knowledge, of course, it's a basic thing that a sales professional should have. Of course, he should have the knowledge about competitive forces and how the company stacks up against the competitors and its products. Yeah. And then you have the skills here, basic selling skills, problem solving skills, ability to present in front of the customers, ability to negotiate with them, yeah, training their own sales team, negotiations, yeah, these are the different skills. Now you have the skills of a finance professional. Of course, the technical competency of finance professional, you can see accounting skill and the IT skill I mentioned here. And then you have a business competencies for finance professional, like you have a interpersonal skills, business skills, strategic agility, communication skills, problem solving skills, change management skills, and risk management skills. So these are the different competencies that a finance professional should have to possess. So now we get into competency models, very important again. So whenever an organization wants to apply this particular competency mapping process in the company, so the first thing that you have to do is they have to design a competency model. So the question comes, what is this? This is a framework for defining the knowledge, the skill required for the job to be effectively done. So it's like a collection of competencies in order to achieve the target in a effective way. So competency models are widely used in business for defining and assessing competencies within the organization in both hard and soft skills. So hard skills are referred to as the technical skills, soft skills are referred to as the behavioral skills. So competency model, it gives you a framework. For XYZ organization, this is the framework. These are the list of competencies. Now these are the hard skills, these are the soft skills. Now if you apply these competencies, you should be able to achieve XYZ target. Now this framework is nothing but your models. So now what we'll do is we'll get into the different models here. I will just explain you the different models which are applied by most of the organization based on their requirement. To begin with, the first model I've mentioned here, you can see there, it's called as organizational competency based model. Now this model concentrates on one important thing is core competencies. Now in the sense, an organization identifies the core competencies which distinguishes it from the marketplace or from the competitors. Now what the organization does is, for example, think that the core competencies of my company is people are dedicated, we have continuous development of employees happening, speedy in whatever work we do, lot of accuracy we bring in an organization, of course initiative on the jobs are there, creativity is observed, we are cost conscious, and we are customer focused. Now what I have done is I have identified those qualities or the skills that my company has and which makes it to stand first. Now what we do is, this competencies that I have identified, I should make it applicable for all the jobs that are available in all the departments. In the sense, now I use the word dedication. I feel that dedication for work is my core competency. I will have to see whether all the jobs in an organization, all the employees are able to exhibit it, whether all my departments are able to do this, isn't it? Now once you do this, now everyone has to be assessed against the core competencies. Now that's all about the model called as organizational based competency model. To understand it better, you can see the framework here. So usually we start with identifying the organizational objectives and strategies, and then based on our vision, mission statement, our own plans, we identify the core competencies. Now if you ask me the question from where this core competency comes, it all comes from the top people, the employees, their core competency, their own competencies. So you pull up the organization's resources and all the employees talents, all the employee skills, all the vendor skills, all the customers, everyone together, we try to identify those unique things that the organization possesses, and then breaks down into departmental competency, and then finally breaks down into individual competency. Now this is again the model called as organizational level competency model. One thing we have to remember is core competency should be identified. Now this has to follow across all the departments and the jobs available in the organization. Now we get into the next model called as commitment and competence based model. Now this there are two words. You see that the commitment and competence. Now commitment is what? It's the outcome of an attitudinal factors, namely one's perception, traits, or the motives. So commitment level is nothing but what? Loyalty, how much loyal we are, how much of citizenship we are able to exhibit. So that is what is commitment. Second word here, competence. As we already studied this, competence is again the knowledge, the skill, and the ability of an employee. So this model says we don't want this identifying core competencies and all. Instead we identify two things. What we expect is, one, commitment from the employees, second thing, competence from the employee. So here this model says that competency is the demonstration of commitment characteristic and competence characteristic. Now obviously the question comes, what is this competence characteristics, what are these commitment characteristics? I have this for you. You can see you can see your commitment characteristics over here. Competence characteristics, the technical knowledge, the functional information, analytical skills. So competencies, see, I have the knowledge level here, the technical, the functional, the knowledge of business process, and here I have skills. analytical skill, planning skills, interpersonal skill, conceptual skills, team building skill, time management, and so on. Now I expect my employees to have these competence characteristics. On that, I also want my employees to be having this commitment correct characteristics. So what are those? Self confident, they have to be enthusiastic, self motivated, honest enough, should have inclusion, integrity, yeah, winning attitude, learning from mistakes, concentration, patience, and so many things. So somewhere this model, called as commitment and competence model, concentrates on both commitment level of an employee and the competence level of my employee. Now what is the unique thing about this model is, this model says, of course, having competent people in an organization is the best, but where about what about their commitment? If employees are not committed, then what's the use of applying the competency model in the organization? That's how they say both are important, competency plus the commitment. Okay, so I'll go to the next model. You can see it's called as 5-level competency model. Now the 5 levels here, you can see the first level. Now here the 5-level competency model concentrates on 5 things. One, the skill level, the knowledge, the attitude, the traits, and the motives. So if you have all these 5 models or 5 characteristics, then you will be able to demonstrate a better behavior. Of course your actions or your results would be better. So once your actions or results are tangible, then it is very easy for me to measure your performance, is what 5-level competency model speaks. Now this is the 5-level competency model. Now what we usually do in organization is we try to establish this model for the company. In the sense, I identify the motives. What are the motives that the employees have in my organization? What are their values, belief system? What is their motivation? What do they think about their self development? Second thing that we do is we try to identify all the traits, characteristics that the employees have. Now this is called as person specific competency model. So I list down whether he's a team leader or a team player or obedient, whether he's timid, he has patience, he has stability, he is unstable, whether he's introvert, extrovert, whether he's sensitive, or he speaks about fact. So all this has to be documented under the traits. The third thing that we notice here is the perception, how one perceives in an organization, what are his views, what are his feelings, mental image, self concept. So all that has to be documented. And of course the job knowledge, in the sense job level of every employee, is to be documented. Job knowledge, understanding of organization, the rules, policies, procedures, the business environment in which you are working. So every other knowledge that is required by you in an organization is documented. And finally comes the skills. Now skills are your technical skills, your functional skills, managerial skills, could be your communication, your planning process, your decision making, leadership, and so on. So that is again the 5-level competency model. So usually what happens in this model is it's concentrating more on employee specific. Now for every other employee, this is to be drafted. So usually this is drafted using taking the help of the immediate supervisor. Now why this model was, when other models like the first one identifying core competencies and the second one competence plus his commitment, and these were on the people said, why are we getting into organization bigger picture? Let us concentrate on each and every individual. Every employee has this format, so it becomes very easy for an organization to achieve its competencies, is what this model speaks. And then came the job based competency model. Now they said, why get into identifying competencies of every employee, instead do the competency model for the jobs. In the sense, this model says identify the different jobs. Now for every job, put up the knowledge required, personality required, skills required, and of course the ability required. Now this job based competency model says that for every job in the organization, you'll have to develop this model. Now this model, you can see my slide, this is the job based competency model for a sales professional. Look at his knowledge level: financial analysis, computer literacy, product knowledge, and he should be aware about the competitive environment. Of course, personality is defined. Yeah, assertiveness, high emotional stamina, energy level. Look at the skills: basic selling skills, problem solving skills, presentation skills, coaching skills, and of course the abilities are mentioned. Now for every other jobs in an organization, this is to be designed. Now this becomes the framework for the organization. The next type of model you see here, it's called as generic and specific competency model. So this model says, why get into individual, why get into jobs, why get into organization? Let us just define the general competencies that are required by all the jobs at the same level, irrespective of any department. So the first thing that they did was they identified the general competencies that is required in the organization, and they got into identifying the specific competencies in the sense job related competencies or function related competencies. Here you have the list here. Look at the generic competencies. You should have that innovation, you should be self disciplined, you should have communication, leadership, emotional maturity, of course self discipline is required, quality of work, problem solving, decision making, isn't it? Now these are the general competencies. Now, general competencies that the employee should possess irrespective of what job or department he is performing in the organization. Now you can see here, now this is again you can see function specific. Now if you look at these skills, I mean the competencies, can you guess which professional competencies are this? Group dynamics, change management, yeah, career planning. I think most of you are aware, right? These are the HR's specific skills. So what we do here is we try to identify the specific competencies. Generic competencies are similar across all the jobs, but here for HR professional I have done it. Now similarly we can do it for finance professional, marketing professional, and so on. So the organization gets into identifying the generic competencies and the specific competencies across all the jobs in the organization, and that becomes the framework for the organization to assess and evaluate the competencies of the employee. The next model you can see here, it's called as managerial, behavioral, and functional competency model. Now this model is got into a little bit of detail and said, why don't we identify different types of competencies? First one, functional competencies. With respect to the job or the function that the employee possesses, let us list down the functions that are required. For a HR professional, this is what is expected when it comes to functional competencies. For a finance professional, it's so and so, isn't it? And then we get into managerial competencies. He should have planning, he should have some certain called as leadership quality, he should have controlling ability, organizing things, right? So these are the managerial competencies, immaterial of whether which profile he is working for. And then we get into behavioral. He should be a team worker, he should have interpersonal skills, he should have that resilience, isn't it? Now this is all about the sixth model called as managerial, behavioral, and functional competency based model. You have a list here. You can see the behavioral competencies. You should be a team worker, you should be customer oriented, continuous improvement, continuous quality, of course leadership, respect for others, interpersonal skills. You need to support diversity, honest, and you'll have to build the trust. And then comes managerial competencies, as I said, planning, communicating, empowering people, recognizing others achievement, problem solving, effective decision making, or conflict resolution styles, positive attitudes. All the managerial competencies, immaterial of any profile or department in the organization, are noted down. And the third thing is, as I said, functional competencies. So functional competencies might change. So in this model, only thing that changes according to job profiles is your functional competencies. So most of the time behavioral and managerial competencies might remain the same. So that's about the sixth framework called as MBEF, competency based model. And the next type of model is called as organizational goal linked competency model. Now this was a systematic model which brought in, which said, why go into so much of details? First define what the organization's vision is, then try to understand the mission statement of the company, and of course analyze the goals of the organization, then the departmental goals. So once the departmental goals are clearly defined, define the individual's goal. Now these goals, or you can say jobs, have to be broken down into tasks. Now for every task in the organization, please identify the competency. Now draft those competencies, allow the employee to develop those competency, assess the employee based on the competencies that are identified. A very tedious job, but of course very successful, and is very effective when it comes to competency based model. You can just glance through my slide, the flow here. That's how finally you get into identify competence. Now if you look at this model, one, it touches the organizational competencies, isn't it? Second thing what it does is specific competencies. There are no generic, there are no just a competency, but competency to achieve that particular task. So very specific, and of course it helps you to achieve your organizational competencies. So somewhere researchers says that this is the best way an organization can use its the competencies in the company. And then the last model you can see is called as Lancaster's model of managerial competency. Now this model says that if one has to be a successful manager, he should have all the three levels of competency. The first level of competency, what Lancaster speaks, is the basic knowledge and information that the employee should possess. In the sense, the basic knowledge, the basic facts. He should have certain professional knowledge. He should be sensitive enough to the events or the happenings that are happening in the market. He should have that problem solving ability, decision making, judgmental skills, making he should be little analytical in his research, things like that. So somewhere the level 1, he somewhere sees that basic knowledge or information is required by the employee. The second level what he speaks here is he should possess the skills and the attributes. Now the skills, if you look at it, managerial skills, behavioral skills, and your which is that managerial, behavioral, and skills that are required, functional skills that are required by an employee. So all that an employee is supposed to possess. And the last level, it is called as level 3. Now what this level 3 speaks is, it speaks about the meta qualities. Now Lancaster says that usually an employee possesses level 1 and level 2 skills. Level 1 is just a knowledge, isn't it? Level 2, of course, the skills, all three types of skills that we spoke till now. But level 3 is something different. It's like, these are the threshold competency, but this is the differentiating competency. So Lancaster says that if an employee has this creativity, mental agility, balancing both learning habits and the skills, self knowledge, self learning, then we can say he can become a successful manager. So Lancaster, he says we should not much worry about job and organization core competencies. He says, why don't we get into these levels, level 1 2 3. Of course level 1 2 are always there. Now if you are able to develop these meta qualities in your employees, then you can have the managerial qualities from every manager that you have in your organization. Now the last thing I would like to address is, most of the organizations get into identifying the competencies, or you can say assessing the competencies using certain questionnaire. Now the question comes, how do we develop this competency mapping questionnaire? Now if you look at my slide, it tells you the process. It starts with identifying the competency, then you slowly get into defining what each competencies are. So once you define, you will have to measure it. So to measure it, you should have certain scales. Now for these scales, I call it as proficiency levels. And then you get into benchmarking of competencies for every profile. Then the mapping starts. This was expected, this is done. So mapping is done. Gap analysis, in the sense identifying the gap. Expected were 10, you have 5. So why is the gap? And then we get into action. Now, this is how competency mapping questionnaires are done in the organization. I'll just quickly run through every step here. The first thing what I have done is the first step of identifying competencies. Think that a job that I have the job somewhere requires competencies like integrity, creativity, interpersonal skills, and resilience, ability to handle the stress. So first thing what I have done is I have identified. What is the second thing I have to do? I'll have to go back to this. Define, isn't it? So what I do is, the next step, I define what these competencies are. Look at my slide here. I have defined now. I have defined integrity as quality of your own character with the people that are surrounded by you. Creativity is all about suggesting, presenting your own ideas, opinions, and suggestions. Interpersonal skills, ability to interact positively with your colleagues, peers surrounded by you. Resilience is ability to adjust to the disturbances around you. Of course, values and ethics I have not mentioned there, core beliefs that guides you or motivates an employee to perform. So the first step what I did, I identified the competencies. Second thing what I did was I had defined them. What's the third thing that we have to do? Go back to the slide. How to measure it. Very important, isn't it? Integrity very nicely defined, isn't it? Quality of your character with other people surrounded by you. But how do I measure it? Right, the biggest question, and I measured it this way. Gains trust and confidence by interacting with subordinates. Now similarly what I do is, for every competency that I have identified for my job or my organization or my department, I will have to design certain question which can measure it. Okay, so see my slide. So from here you can see that I have designed certain questions which can measure the competencies that I have identified. Yeah, the next thing what we do is we will have to define the proficiency level. Of course we usually use this Likert scale, isn't it, 1 to 5, but whereas in competency model what we call it as is proficiency levels defined. Now level 1, you can see there, competency not evident, in the sense one who has yet to start the process of learning, so there are no competency with him. Level 2, he is a learner, one who is still in the process of learning the competency. Level 3, he is a practitioner, one who is practicing the competencies which he has learnt in the process. The fourth one you can see, he is a leader, one who participates and leads others in the organization. The fifth one is a master who has mastered those competencies and he is imparting the knowledge to others. So these are the proficiency level. Now what we have done here is, if you look at it, we are here, we have defined the proficiency level. So somewhere you can see here, in the integrity I can tell whether I am a master or this competency is still not visible in me. So accordingly you rate the identified competence. Now back to this slide, we have defined the proficiency levels. Now this is called as benchmarking of competency for every profile. Now if you look at the profiles are here, the general manager, area manager, supervisor. So like this we have profiles in the organization. For every profile what I do is I have to benchmark. For a general manager, strategy development as a competency, he should be a master. Now, planning and organizing, he should be a master. Integrity, he should be a master, and so on. Now whereas for area manager I can say he can just be a leader, he can just be a practitioner. Okay, so based on the profile that you are into, you will have to benchmark the competencies, and then we get into mapping the process. You can see the yellow things there. So those are the competencies which are not visible, and tick marks are those which are the competencies that are visible. So for one, so these are the yellow things are not visible. Now that's all about how do we identify the competencies in the organization. So most of the companies get into this competency mapping questionnaire, wherein they try to identify the core competencies that are there in the organization, and then they say this is how we are going to institutionalize the competencies. Now to just to brush up in whatever we have done, we started with the module called as competency mapping. We defined what is core competencies, and we also said competency mapping always starts with core competency, and then I told why competency is needed for a company, and then two important things that we have to remember was defined very well with the example, and then defined what competencies are, isn't it, and then categories of competency, then competency mapping process, and then application of competency mapping. Of course various examples of competencies were dealt, and then got into competency models. There were around 8 to 9 models, and then the last model, you can see it was called as Lancaster's model, and then I said most of the organization are getting into organizational goal linked competency model, and the final one is the Lancaster model. So if you want to have a managers, or managers want to be effective managers possessing all these competencies, then they can usually practice this particular model. So this is all about the module called as competency mapping. Thank you so much guys for listening out to me.